Good evening. This is MnemoConnect, one of the 5 live video series from Mnemo channel. On MnemoConnect, we discuss conscientiologic subjects, especially those most related to seriaxology through debates and interviews with our guests from international cosmoethical conscientiological community. In this edition of MnemoConnect, we will talk about intraconsciential temperament and conscientiotherapy. We are going to discuss the consciential interrelations of temperament and management within practice of consciential therapy. We have 3 guests with us. All of them are consciential therapists and researchers at the International Organization of Consciential Therapy, based here in Foz do Iguaçu. We will introduce them after the opening. Hang on. The first one is Ana Ruiz. She's graduated in psychology and pedagogy, specialist in psychopedagogy and cognitive behavioral therapy, volunteer in conscientiology since 2005, teacher of conscientiology since 2006, Penta practitioner since 2016, and consciential therapy since 2021. Welcome, Ana.
Hello, João Paulo. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to stay here.
Okay. Glad to have you with us. All right. The next one is Luiz Ferreira. He's graduated in medicine, specialist in psychiatry, Brazilian, born in Florianópolis, Santa Catarina, volunteer in conscientiology since 1992, Penta practitioner since 2004, and consciential therapist since 2014. Hi, Luiz.
Hi, João and Ana. It's nice to be here this night to discuss such a great thing.
Good to have you with us too.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Regina Estermann, graduated in psychology, specializing in grief and loss. Brazilian, born in Lavras, Minas Gerais, volunteer of conscientiology since 2001, teacher of conscientiology since 2006, Penta practitioner since 2002, and consciential therapist since 2015. Hi, Regina.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. And before the first question, I'd like to ask our audience to click on the link icon down below and subscribe to the channel. Please, it helps us a lot. And please feel free to write on the chat and leave comments and questions as you wish. All right, so tonight we will discuss these topics about consciential therapy, and this is a kind of movement I think you are having in your organization, and this is very interesting because we know that temperament is a complex and it's paragenetic element of the consciousness. And to begin, I would like to ask what is considered to be temperament from the perspective of the consciousness paradigm, from the basis.
So I will start then. Again, good evening to all from Brazil, because in some countries it's not evening. So we would like to start talking a little about what temperament is. It's a concept used in psychology too. And we can say that temperament is the foundation of the personality biologically determined early in life. We were born with our temperament. We can see already in babies, some are quiet, some are anxious. It's not uncommon for someone to have a temperament similar to a parent or a grandparent. We can say that temperaments informs how we behave and move through life. For example, our energy level, emotional responsiveness, humor, mood, curiosity, ability to adapt to some situations, also our level of inhibition. There are some characteristics as behavioral traits, whether a person is outgoing or shy, easy react or quick react, focused or easily distracted, determined or easily discouraged, how a person approaches, reacts, focuses on a situation. Nevertheless, conscientiology's approach is different because we of the model use it for its research, the consciential paradigm. It considers that we are not only the physical body, we are consciousness in an evolution process who manifests through a set of bodies called holosoma. Other bases of conscientiology or consciential paradigm are multiple existences, dimensions, bioenergies, cosmic ethics, the principle of peace belief. So we have a definition of temperament based on consciential paradigm in the Dictionary of Conscientiotherapeuticology. This dictionary was written by OIC volunteers, and where he says that temperament is an innate set of docenic manifestations. Docenic is related to docenity, the quality of our thoughts, sentiments, and energies in our manifestations. It is relatively stable over time, resulting from paragenetics and consciential holobiography. Paragenetics is the genetic that we are developing, constituting through our lives, our past lives, intrinsically related to the matter docene. Matter docene is our personal predominant docene, determining behavioral tendencies, preferences, predilections. So we can say temperament is the base, the source of the consciousness. It's our character, our consciential identity, our fingerprint.
Very good. And why is temperament so hard to, work with sometimes? Because I know it's a neutral concept. We have good things and sometimes not so good things we don't like. But quickly, before the next question, why do you think temperament is so hard to deal with sometimes?
Do you want to answer, Regina?
What temperament is so
hard to deal with?
What we can say, because we sometimes it's so easily to we don't perceive, we don't notice what traits we manifest, and sometimes when we perceive some traits and behaviors that we don't like, we try not to accept, we are not open to see. I think
Yes.
those things can difficult our to discover our temperaments.
Yes. Regina, I was remembering now that we discussed in the other days when we were preparing that we think that some people, some individuals, have a very pathological affection to the personality that they were in the past. So it's like they fell in love with this retro personality that they have, and this not help them to recycle because they don't see that it is not good. This temperament is not good for them now. It is anachronic. So this is something that we can do, that we can see in the attendances, is that the people is very egosyntonic with this temperament. For them, they think it is okay. For them, they don't see that it's not damaging them. What I say that this is not evolutive for them in the actual time.
I think, Anna, okay, I can add maybe here also that we get used also with our traits and temperaments. We live it in some different cultures, contexts, environments, and we learned a lot, and our tendency is to repeat behaviors and attitudes, habits that we constituted in our lives. So that when we reborn in this or resonate in this life, for example, we brought all these traits and behaviors in us, in our intraconscientiality, and we need time to openness to discover our traits, our temperament.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. And what are the most common or evident types of temperament in people in general, and in particular in our community?
Okay, so I can talk about this over decades. A lot of researchers and scientists have settled and expanded 4 distinct types of temperaments. The first one to do that was Hippocrates, that he suggests that the bodily humors determine a person's behavior. And then Gallian keep developing this theory until now. That is the theory that we have now at psychology. There is something interesting, that there is a scientist called Wundt that is from the early 20s, that he was the first one to separate personality from the body function. That's what the thing that Hippocrates did. And this is important because he said that he thinks that the individuals has not only one temperament, that can have traits from all the 4 temperaments, or for example, for 1 or 2 temperaments. Okay, so this is important to say. But what are the 4 temperaments? Are sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, and which was the one, melancholic. Okay, so sanguine, just very quickly, sanguine is the person that is very cheerful, very optimistic, that he seems all the things like the glass with the full water, the half full. And the choleric, for example, this the other temperament, that the person is more irritable, okay, has a tendency for example, has a lot of energy, has a tendency to dominate the other. Phlegmatic, the person has this trait, is more kind, more considerate, more relaxed. And melancholic has traits that are related more to nostalgic. Also, they are very creative, and they have a relation with artists. This is, I mean, the main characteristic. Okay, you can see that if you Google, you can see a lot of research about this. So we are not going to talk a lot about this. But the second question that you said, Gianpaolo, about the temperaments that we research at conscientiology, they are focused on the regressive temperaments, not so graphic ones. Why? In order to recycle them. So sometimes we can have like remnant traits of these temperaments that we research at conscientiology, that are monarchical, religious, bellicosity, or warlike, some people call. And the other one is
Artistic.
Thank you, and artistic. So these are the four main temperaments that we study at conscientiology. Perhaps it's very important to know which temperament you have predominantly. Sometimes you can have, like, as I said, traits of two temperaments, but it's interesting for you to know which temperament is the more that you have in your behaviors, in your actions, in the way you talk. You can see that if you observe yourself. And why we conscientiology choose these four types? Because over the story, they were the one that have a more representative in the history of the humanity, the religious, and also have monarchic, artistic, and bellicosity. Okay.
And,
We're going to talk more about this now.
yeah, but and when you say regressive temperament, apart what you just example, like monarchic, artistic, and so on, what is left out? What is not regressive temperament? What is an example of not regressive temperament?
This is very interesting question that you point out, Gianpaolo, because at conscientiotherapy also, and in conscientiology, we are not only also in conscientiotherapy. It's not only to see, for example, the problems that you have, but also to acknowledge of your strong traits, of what your, for example, your para-representative, and it can be identity, that it is homeostatic. And these temperaments that we also study, not only in conscientiotherapy, but also at conscientiology, can be like universalist temperament, pacific temperament. So we can study a lot of different that are very homeostatic temperaments that are going to help us. So I think, from my point of view, that you don't have only to study the regressive temperaments, but also the homeostatic temperament that is going to help you to have a more homeostatic manifestation. I don't know if
I think, and maybe I can add here also. We not, of course, we have in each one of temperament. Okay, we mentioned these four types of temperament that we have also a course in by OIC, but there are also positive aspects that we learned in this kind of temperament. Of course, nowadays, our intention is to identify which aspect of the trait is negative or anti-evolutive that it's important to recycle, but also we can reinforce the traits that are positive. For example, religious temperament. In the past, we know that the first place of care and education were hospitals and schools. The most of them were founded by religious people. So sense of responsibility, sense of interassistance, sense of working in a group, maybe that are, for example, traits or aspects, positive aspects of this kind of temperament. Warlike, for example, leadership, position, making decisions, taking actions are traits of this temperament. But of course, in the past, maybe they were used in an anti-cosmoethical way, and nowadays we are trying to use, we can say, this trait in a positive, evolutive, or cosmoethical way.
Very important.
This meets with our next question, which is, can we manifest traits, behaviors, and attitudes of various temperaments at the same time?
Yes, João, I'm going to answer this one. So, because everyone's going to think that I don't know how to speak English. So, look, of course, we already had several lives before, and we had many activities, many functions in our previous lives. So we can manifest many of these artistic, religious, warlike, and monarchical traits. Okay. What's most important in conscientiotherapy when we are going to deal with these temperaments during our research? We are doing the conscientiotherapy. We have to know what is most predominant, what is the temperament that is happening in our everyday life. Okay, so because we were born with this temperament, and they have been shown since we are a kid, since we are very young, and we are growing up. And when we become adult, we can manifest one or other more than the other ones. And sometimes this kind of manifestation may damage or may become a little problematic in our manifestation, and we can have problems because some of them are manifesting in a regressive way. And Regina mentioned the strong traits of these temperaments, because all the temperaments, they have strong and weak traits. Okay, of course we want to change the weak traits, but we are going to use the strong traits to change this in our approach in consciential therapy, for example.
And to research our temperament, what do you guys think? The children are more spontaneous normally. What do you think? Our temperament, it's more obvious, it's more out to anyone see when we are young and when we are kids, or when we get older?
No, look, The it is very everyone has a different manifestation, you know. But of course, when the society and the education, where all the process of growing up has some restrictions and has some uh, let's say when you go to school, for example, you know, you have to follow rules, you have to obey orders, and kids are going to school earlier and earlier, you know, and of course, when we are kids, these manifestations may happen very easily, and you can, if you have an accurate view of that child, you are going to see that she or he is showing some of the temperaments, and you can say, "Oh, this is something that he was born with that," and but the education and all the restrictions, you know, we have a very difficult society. We have a pathological society that we are living in, and this pathological society is influencing us, you know, with all this media, social media stuff that we are dealing right now, and this all these things are changing, are restricting the manifestation of every woman, human being. So, but of course, when we get older, and uh, this is when we are going to see what has left, you know, from that temperament we were born, because we are changing a little bit according to life, you know. And if you are worried about getting better, recycling, you know, our focus on the regressive temperaments are because we want to evolve. We want, we are worried about the evolutionary process. We want to die as a better person than we were born. So we have to change because we have weak traits that have to become strong traits somehow. And so we have many tools to do that throughout life.
And in the consciential therapy set, how you can find the temperament of your evolution. You know, sometimes you don't have much time, one session maybe, and how can you find out how the temperament predominantly is of the evolution?
I want to talk, please.
Yeah, no, you may answer, please.
I think we can have some criteria for that. For example, when we think we don't have many time, depending on the attendance of the conscientiotherapy, we have regular, we have punctual, and also we have intensive attendance. That is like, for example, it can be a week, or it can be in a weekend. The intensive attendance with 5 attendances, okay, 5 sessions. But for example, let's put that we have just one punctual attendance. It's going to be a challenge. But what are the criteria that we can use? First of all, we are in a conscientiotherapy field, and this optimized a lot the coupling with the evolution, the conscientiotherapist and the evolutions, and also we work with the paraconscientiotherapists. So we have a technical attendances, and there are when this in this field, in this conscientiotherapy field, it makes more easy to amplify the traits, also the weak traits and the strong traits that the evolution have. It's like highlight. It's like a highlight, and you can see that in a more easy. more easily. So I think this is important for us to say. And then, for example, when the person start talking about what bothers him or her, you can start seeing, for example, how the person dresses. You have information about this that can give you information about the temperament, how the person talks, how is the communication, how are the gestures, what the person reacts. For example, you can see the person dramatization. She comes to the attendant and say, "Oh, I observe that I'm like this. I have this feedback," and she starts to victimization herself and to become to start to feel guilty. And you see that she tells you that she usually does that, so you can start to see that she has like a religious temperament. Or the person that you say, for example, you give a feedback to him or her, and the person starts to react a lot, to be very aggressive. So you see that she can maybe have like um, very cautious temperament. So can you see that also you can see in the energies of the person? So I'm saying I'm starting with the soma, yes, with the gesture, now with the energies, with the feel that with the consciential therapists and the consciential therapists and the evolution is formed. You can see also the energy of the evolution also with the psychosome, so the emotions that we are telling and the thinking, how the person thinks. The person always wants, the person wants. How the person sees the world. This also gives you information. And also, sorry, just the last thing, Regina, and also with the consciousness that we are going to assist in the field. This is also, I think, is one of the most important things that we see is what the person has the willingness to change, to recycle one trait. This trait is related to a group of consciousness. This consciousness, this extraphysical consciousness, they normally have a root in the past. They are related to other lives that they have in the past. So, Regina, was this that I was thinking.
I only want to add to that it's only in presential attendance, of course,
Yes,
but we
yes.
have also the projectotherapy that we have in this kind of session that helps also a lot because it's a technique that we use that allows the evolution to have a discoincidence, to connect with the astrophysical uh, multidimensionality, or as Anna said, paraconscientiotherapists or helpers. And it helps us to receive also, to notice or perceive also more information about the evolution, for example. Né? Of course, OIC offers attendance, online attendances for people that
Yes, self-consultation we call it. Yeah,
self yes,
yeah.
self-consultation. That is also, of course, it's not possible to work with energies as in a presential attendance, but it's possible, perfectly possible to work on traits and temperaments that are important or that person wants to recycle. Huh?
Can I add one thing extra? Please.
Yeah.
Look, first of all, it's not in only one attendance or even in five attendance in an intensive consciential therapy that the person is going to work with all this
Yeah.
subject that's very complex. You understand? But the thing is, we as consciential therapists, we are not going to tell the person what is the predominant temperament that the person has. We are going to help the person, to find out what is his problem. We are going to lead, conduct somehow with the techniques that we have in consciential therapy that are written in our dictionary, published in 2022. And the person is going to work with all that information, and then they are come to a conscience. It becomes aware of what is the problem. Okay, because we when we were working with consciential therapy, we have one thing that is basic. We only work with self cure. Nobody here cures anybody. It's just the own consciousness that is able to cure itself. Okay. Of course, we can help the others, like hetero help. But cure, we are talking about self cure always. Never a cure that comes from outside. But the person can have help in many ways, not only in OIC, but other institutions may help the person to come as consecutivos. I know that you study very much this subject, and in Consus as well, and many other institutions, they deal with this kind of subject. Okay.
John Paulo, may I add
Sure,
something?
sure. Go on.
I remember, I don't know if you remember, that is written on in the dictionary of arguments. But Baldo also said a lot of times that the temperament is one of the hardest things to recycle. So for that reason, I feel it's very important what Luiz told, that it's not in one or two, that it's not so easy for the person sometimes to see and to change. So this is going to have a lot of time, willingness, and to change. And the most important thing is to be consistent every day, every day. But it's one of the most difficult things to, or the last things to change, or from the consciousness.
Very good. And we have some people just saying hi, like Elisa Souza, Michelle Chad, Liliana Alexandre. Oh, hi! Thanks to be here with us, and talk about the self healing or self cure, like Luis just said. How someone which is not a consciential therapist can diagnose himself, and yet how to do a self-consciential therapy on his temperament.
So who's gonna tell?
Here you
Well,
go.
there's no recipe like a straight one. But for example, I can. What do we do, or what do we want to teach in OIC? Because our main intention in OIC is to teach people how to make self-consciential therapy. Okay, so the first thing that, and we call that as the consciential therapy cycle. Okay, the first thing is to investigate. You have to investigate your manifestations. So, like, you have to write down all things that the way you behave in many situations, for example. So, and after a while, you take note, and after a while, you're gonna notice that there is a pattern in your manifestations. For example, if you are religious, there are many ways to see, but not. But I don't go to church. I'm not religious. No, this is not religious. Here it doesn't mean that you go to church or you read the Bible. It's the way you behave. You're very disciplined. You like people, for example, to choose things for you. You obey very easily. You are
Perfectionist, perfectionist,
yes, you are
maybe.
perfectionist. You are sometimes very obsessive, and there are a lot of
Dramatic.
characteristics, yes, about this kind of subject, and that you may notice. So after a while, so if you write down, for example, and you are going to make reflections about this, you have to think about this. You come to a self-diagnosis. Oh, I have this kind of religious manifestations which are predominant in my daily life. Very well. So when you have come to a self-diagnosis, you are going to think about, I have this problem. This is my consciential disease, let's say like that. And so you will try to create some medicines, some remedies, for yourself. That we call the next step of the cycle, which is self-confrontation. Which is what is self-confrontation? Self-confrontation is when you prescribe to yourself some new behaviors, must be new, and these new behaviors, they have to have some characteristics. For example, this must be an action, so must be a verb, like a verb, or to do this, or to study, or to make this. So it's a verb, and has to be something that is feasible, like possible to be done all by
Mhm.
yourself, mainly. No, don't expect, oh no, I will get better when my mother becomes this or that. No, forget it. She's not going to change. Who's going to change it is you. Okay. And the third thing is something that like say, it depends on you only. You don't have to wait for anybody. Okay. So this is self-confrontation. And then these are remedies, they are medicines for this problem that you have. So, oh, I have this religious manifestation predominantly. So I will change some behaviors in my everyday life. After a while, you make a balance of all this stuff and see what has worked out, what has worked properly. What did that behavior changed my manifestation? No. For example, I did something and I'm still obeying all the orders, for example, that are given to me. I never complain, I never reply, I never try to negotiate. No, so I didn't change. So you come back and try to make another medicine,
Action.
action for you. You prescribe and you apply. What is good in consciential therapy is something very dynamic. You have to apply. If you start consciential therapy or a cycle, even OIC or in your own life, and after a while you haven't changed it, it's because or you didn't investigate it properly, or you didn't diagnose it correctly, and then you didn't prescribe the right
Yeah.
remedy for yourself. Okay, because in the fourth step of this cycle is the self
Overcome.
overcoming. So
Mm.
when you overcome the problem, when you solve the problem, of course sometimes you solve the problem in a partial way, not completely, but doesn't matter. It's a victory. When you change a little bit, no problem. You don't have to be upset or sad about your your behavior. No, you keep on doing and try to uh, making better and better, and so on. Okay.
All right. I think the the most difficult thing is change something that is a pattern of our behavior, something that it's coming with us for thousands of years. I don't know how many, but it's a pattern. We don't think some behaviors that we do still. But before the next question, you have a course, right?
Yes.
At OIC, and I'd like you to tell about it. We have a post there somewhere. We will show sometime.
Yes.
But you can start. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
You can talk about it, please.
So sorry because it's in Portuguese, but I'm gonna translate. It's the conscientiotherapy of regressive temperaments, and it's a course that we are going to study the four types of temperaments that we are saying: the monarchical, the religious, the bellicose, and the artistic. And they're going to be they are gonna help you. There's a group of consent therapists, and they're going to help you to investigate and diagnose, as Luis was saying, the traits that are linked to that temperament. We have like eight sessions that it is going to be presential. This is important to say. It's every Sunday from 9 to 12, and there are going to be also energetic practice, and it's a good opportunity for you to recycle the remnants of the temperaments, and to also to diagnosis if you don't know your temperament, also to diagnosis. So it started on the 2nd of March and goes to the April of 20th of April. Okay, and also we have a Moodle, sorry. We have access a Moodle to the Moodle with a lot of
material.
Thank you. With a lot of material of the course. Okay, more information you can contact with us.
Just to
Of
add
course.
one thing, Regina and people, that in the second semester we are going to have an online, online course that's gonna take place. Okay,
Yeah.
this first one is gonna be presential at Foz do Iguaçu, but for many of you who are interested, take a look at the OIC website, because in the second semester we're going to have an online course as
Very
well.
soon. Yeah.
And for now, it's in Portuguese, but perhaps in the future it could be in English too.
Yeah.
But for now, it's only in Portuguese. It's important also to
yes, all in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice, very good. And continuing, how we can distinguish between a trait, which is maybe a strong or weak trait, doesn't matter, but a trait which is more superficial than apart from a trait that is more profound, more deep, like a temperament trait, when we are doing some self-research?
How can we superficial? I think all the traits are related to our temperaments. Né? Maybe superficial because the person doesn't want to go deeper in the self-conscientiotherapy. Né? Could be because as we said before, we have strong traits and weak traits. Huh? So superficial, what do you mean exactly, João?
Sometimes we have behaviors. Sometimes we have behaviors that we absorb in our personality in this life because of all the environment, of family, culture, and so on. And sometimes we have many other traits that parts of our temperament. It doesn't matter where we live, our body, what gender we are. It is that paragenetic trait.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, distinguish one between one and another.
Yeah. I'm thinking, Regina, you want to, you know, I'm thinking about, for example, when we were born, perhaps we are influenced by our mythology, yeah? So that can be more superficial. And there are the ones that we can manifest from the beginning. For example, when, as you talked, Regina, in the beginning, in the early lives, in the early, when you are 2 years old, 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, you can see there the temperament of the consciousness, okay? Because she's more free. She has not so much influence in the mythology. This is one thing. But Regina, just that was the idea that comes first.
Yes, it makes sense. Of course, we because we live it in a lot of different contexts. But anyway, I think there are some contexts that we live it more than others in our past lives, and it could be that we resonate with people and environments that are similar to the contexts that all of those things that we lived before. But I think as Anna answered, there are traits that we notice that we are innate in us, and there are characteristics from the mythology that are easier, I think, to recycle, for example. Né? I don't know if we answered your question, Paulo.
Yep, yep, will do. But another thing, in your practice, in the consciential therapy, if someone comes to you in the high crisis about his temperament or some part of his temperament, what's the challenge? How to begin with? How to help this person to not die with this crisis? Because if temperament comes with us, will be a conscious with the same problem and a conscient again in the next life with the same problem again and again. How can you deal with these great crises with people that want to change their temperament but cannot do yet?
Look, the thing is, João, we are not gonna do, and we're gonna not going to change anyone. Okay, but there are some basic things that the person that we call evolution. You know, the evolution must have uh, some postures, some ways. First of all, there must be an openness to change. The first thing, the person has to come with us with the desire to really change. There, because a lot of people don't like to study themselves because they are, as Regina mentioned in the beginning, they like to be the way they are, but this way they are behaving is not helping them, in their everyday life. The second thing that we try to establish to the evolution is the patience. There must be patience and dramatization, because we cannot dramatize about what we are living, and we have to calm down, cool down. Let's study. Let's have a posture of a researcher, a self researcher, and we are going to deal with the problem in a uh, in a uh, in a very easy way. Easy, let's say, it's not easy going way. Like, for example, you don't have to worry about a lot of things. But of course, people they come anxious, they come depressed, they come a lot of, because this is the thing. We have to try to learn to teach people. I'm sorry, uh, how to approach this problem very early in life. After the thing, we could say the person has to have a detachment from their own behavioral and tendencies. Okay, like we have to see the problem without living the problem, which is somehow difficult, but this is the one of technique. We have to consider and look at the problem if it was belonging to someone else. After, we are going to bring it to the person, uh, and in the end, we have we must have a willingness to change. Okay, so the first thing is openness to change. It's different from the willingness to change, because if we don't change, how can you expect to decrease or lower your crisis? It's very difficult. And during the consciential therapy, even though if it's a self-consciential therapy, that is always self-consciential therapy in the end, even though we are doing with the help of consciential therapists, we are going to make some changes in your behavior. Little changes in the beginning, but they can produce great consequences in your everyday life. And as time goes on, because consciential therapy is something that you keep doing that, you as I said before, our intention in OIC is to teach people how to do it, because we have to do it over and over again, because in almost every problem, every challenge that we have in life, we may apply consciential therapy techniques to overcome the problems. Okay.
João Paulo. Regina, please.
Okay, another point, I don't know, Anna, if you are talking about the same question,
Yes.
but another thing that I was, you can say, Anna, you are.
No, it was from the same question as Luis, but you are going to talk about the same question as Luis?
And I would like to add that we can't forget that we are based on consciential paradigm. We need to consider the multidimensionality. So sometimes there are also extraphysical consciousness that have the pseudo gain in the connection with the evolution and maintain to the connection with the evolution to maintain some traits, some behaviors. Yes.
Yes.
So it's important also to count with this point that sometimes it's difficult to change because there are some astrophysical consciousness that are influencing the evolution and making difficulties to change the behavior or the traits. Yeah?
Just to clarify that we are not going to change the extraphysical consciousness. Okay, what we are going to change? We are going to change ourselves, and we are going to work as a model, as an inspiration for them to change as well. And sometimes they don't want us to change because they are, as Regina said, there are pseudo gains from them. They think if we keep doing or keep behaving the way we are, this is going to be useful for them.
Yes.
Again, with your practice, what if the evolution have a temperament very similar to the therapist? You raise the red flag. What do you do? This is help. This helps you. This doesn't help. What do you do?
Well, yes. Well, the thing is that when this is very common to happen, Jean, because and this is good as well. The consciential therapist is not a perfect person. Otherwise, and it's not a person that has evolved very much, Otherwise, we would be Serenissimus, okay? We are trying, but of course, when we receive someone who has characteristics or traits that are similar to us, we can be models for them. Of course, we are not going to tell, oh, do as I did, because my situation was different. For example, if I am seeing some evolution that has the same traits that I had, but I have some, you know, I have some synapses and parasynapses because I have already worked with this problem before. So I can lead, I can somehow help the person to go to similar way and try to act and try to prescribe, not me, but try to make the person see what are the possible solutions for their problem, because I had this experience before. So it's very common, and to us to have people who had the same problem, and because we have some you know how do you say in English, uh, we have a moral, like we have some aspect. We
Authority, moral
uh,
authority,
Authority.
moral
authority, yes,
authority.
this is the word that I was looking for. We
Yes.
have some authority to
Yeah,
say something, or to try to lead the person that is dealing with the same problem that I did before, to find some similar solutions for its own case. Okay,
yeah,
but it's how it helps. Sometimes we have some more authority when we have passed through that kind of problem before.
Yeah,
yeah,
normally when we have more experience in something, it's easier
yeah.
Yes,
because
yes, yes,
That's what I'm
that's it.
thinking, because in terms of interassistentiality, you have to see the rapport. The rapport, when you have a rapport with some groups and you are in the same groups, if you have more, as Luis said, more of moral authority, or you have more experience, and you have already passed, overcome some traits, it's easy. Your energies also help the person to have more insights. And I think if you, I mean, it's like the rapport sometimes makes it easier with the assistance. If you think about Penta, in the Penta, there's not going to come assistant person that need assistance, that they are from another temperament that you don't have any rapport, any connection. We assist the ones that we have a, a, a great connection. Regina?
Yes, no, I agree with you. That is common that we give assistance to evolutionists that have the similar temperament as us.
Yeah.
And I would like
That's
to add one
yes.
thing, John Paulo. Not conscientiotherapy is not only blah blah blah. There are a whole thing, a lot of things happening around. For example, if I have a similar temperament holotonsine before, and I have already worked and solved many of this regressive temperament, my holotonsine
Mhm.
emanates,
Mm.
a level of solution, a level of serenity, a level of balance about this problem. And when the evolution comes to a place, and the evolutionarium is the place that we are working with this evolution, you know, the
Evolution.
person comes to be immersed in a more healthy and steady environment.
Homeostatic.
Yes, a more homeostatic, and only this may help. Of course, that we are not only count on this. We do a lot of techniques. We work with energies. We do processual therapy. That we lay down people and we try to make to establish some connections with the helpers and the technical helpers that are dealing with consciential therapy. And so all of these are going to help the person to work with this temperament they are not enjoying very much and they want to change.
Right. And as you said before, we have to do small steps to really change maybe big things, because we sometimes we, we can't change a huge thing in in a few days. But what how can we choose the most important problem, or the priority to work with in our temperament, uh, to to be one of these small steps in the whole thing. You know what I mean?
So who's going to answer?
Eh,
Look, go, Anna, go.
no, I mean, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about, first of all, the prioritization must be what is bothering you the most. This is a very good criteria to start, because the most thing that you have more is bothering you, that you are not feeling well. This is a sign that you need to work on this. This is something important, because you are going to be motivated to change that. So this is one of the things that we see in practice, that the evolution, that we and the evolutions, we start recycling, and it's the prioritization. What is the thing that is bothering more? But we can
Okay.
amplify that also.
This is one kind of evolution, João, that comes with this demand, with this problem.
Yes,
But
exactly.
there are a lot of other ones that say, "Oh, I don't know why I'm here," or sometimes it's not clear what is my demand here in consciential therapy. A good question also is when we change a little bit, and I can ask the person. Uh, think about what the people around you, your wife, your kids, your boss, your employees, what do they complain about you? This is a good question to make. And the person sometimes say, "Oh, they say that I'm this, I'm that." And so when the person starts to answer, because sometimes they cannot see themselves very, very well, self cognition, self perception is very poor in the majority of the people that we have seen in the beginning. And this is a very common initial problem. People don't look inside, don't look. It's very easy to point out the someone else's problem, but it's very difficult to see the point, the end of your nose. In order to do that, you have to use the mirror. And every type of therapy, including consciential therapy, there is a mirror in front of you somehow. It is not a physical mirror, but there is a psychological mirror. You are going to talk about yourself. So when you start answering what are the things that the people are complaining about you, you start to decide what is the main problem that you are going to work with. Okay?
Can
Yeah,
be one of the
normally,
criteria. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
Carry on.
Normally the evolution brings a demand to start the self-conscientiotherapy or the conscientiotherapy process. But sometimes it's not the demand that is the most important aspect to be worked, right, in conscientiotherapy. So it's with the sessions we can identify other questions to work to. but of course, it's we need to. The person needs to see what are the problems, the questions that he or she wants to work with.
Another thing, João, just who gives the person the evolution is the person is the one who gives the tune, who gives the strength
The
and
ring, the ring.
yes, the how much we are going to deepen into their problem is something that the evolution is going to tell us. You know, we never push anybody, you know, in order. Of course, sometimes we see that the problem is somehow has a bottom deeper and deeper, but the person is gonna show us how much the intention of going deep, and we respect that
Yeah.
because we cannot push the person. We are not here, to force anybody to evolve. The person has to develop that willingness by itself.
The person allows us to go deeper or not,
Or
in
not.
which, yes.
Yes.
The evolution gives the permission, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Pick
Yes.
up as when
And
it's
what is
like this.
carry on, carry on.
No, I was going to say at the same time that the person goes, for example, to consciential therapy, there is also the phenomena of the resistance that is known in every kind of therapy. We want, but we don't want that much. We want to change, but it's difficult to change. And when we challenge or we face the problems or some, we have some breath, to take, and sometimes we are out of breath. We cannot go any further because we don't know how, and this is a resistance we have to break, in a steady and in a good way. We're not going to break anybody because the person has to come out, of course, thinking about reflexive. They are going to worry about what is going on, but in the end it has to come out better than the way the person arrived. Okay.
And even though the evolution wants to change, it's open to change, wants to collaborate. Um, what is the most difficult kind of temperament to uh, work with on the set?
uh, I don't know. I think there's no one kind of temperament. The thing is how much this temperament is affecting the life
Yeah.
of the evolution, and then the main thing, how much the person is bothered by this temperament, and as we said before, the evolution tell us what is bothering him or her, and this the person wants to change, but maybe the most difficult temperament is the one who is blind. The person is blind, doesn't see what is the problem. I think this is the most difficult one because the person is acting, is behaving in a way, and the person thinks that, oh, this is something that came out from the blues, came out of the blues, and oh, it's something I am like that. It's like a Gabriela's syndrome. Was born like that, and I will always be like that, and I cannot change. No, you can't change. But first of all, you have to understand the problem that you have, the temperament. You have to give a name. You have to understand what are the characteristics of this temperament, and then start changing. Baby steps, like we say, little steps. And we also have a technique about little steps. Every time, each time a little step forward.
Yeah. And I think the more identified the person is with a temperament, it's going to be difficult, more difficult. So if the person is very in the monarchical temperament, it's going to be more difficult. So it's not, I don't see the difference also, as we said, between the different temperaments, but in the temperament, when the person, if she has very strong roots, is going to be difficult. It's the root of the temperament that I think is the more difficult for the person. It's going to get time by time because she had a lot of lives living in manifesting with that temperament.
There is also, I think, the ego mechanism defense. Yes?
Oh, yeah,
Most of people at first they try to use the ego mechanism defense. They don't want to see, as Luis said, the the ugly things. They want to it is it's common for us like this. We try to hide the things that we don't like in us. So it's also there's a point that we need to that is important to help the evolutionant to see this when they use the ego mechanism defense.
Yeah.
And the opposite way. What if the evolution has a strong trait in his temperament? How to qualify that strong trait, especially when it is in the blind spot of his.
Could you repeat, João? I didn't listen. And the end of the question.
Yeah.
How to qualify the strong traits of the temperament of the evolution when it is in the blind spot
And blind spot.
Okay.
of the temperament of the person.
Sometimes people also doesn't want to assume the strong traits because it means that they have also a responsibility for them. They need to do something with the strong traits. And there is a paradox, but sometimes it happens. Nah? So I think we can try it. Of course, the consciential paradigm helps us a lot. I think helps us a lot to how to use the strong traits in the evolutive way. So I think considering the paradigm is a good way to help them to assume and how I say to take the power of the strong traits.
Take responsibility for his strong
Yeah,
traits.
responsibility.
Because sometimes it's in the blind spot. You understand? You know what I mean? It doesn't see. It doesn't see a good thing of his.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
we
it's
can
common,
see.
right?
Yeah, yes, we can see that what we do in the attendance when the person has these blind spots that they don't have a self perception about these blind spots that we are talking. We ask them to bring some experiences. You know, how you behave, how was that experience, what happened in that time of your life, in that specific area of your life. And when the person brings the experiences that she had in life, we can start to point out for the evolution, see some characteristic that he missed, so through the facts and para-facts, because also the evolution bring us the projections, how they feel the energies, the consciousness that they perceive. We start to point out some characteristic that he or she was not seeing. So I think that the facts can help us, conscientiotherapists, to help the Bolosian to see their blind spots. So we help them to see them about the facts, you know.
Other times, João, when we as consciential
Therapy.
therapists and they're also researchers about this subject, we many times we ask the evolution to make the list, the
Yeah.
famous list, your strong traits, your weak traits, and the missing traits. And the person, when it comes to weak traits, there is a list of 20 because we are very good to see the negative points of ourselves. But when it comes to the strong traits, many of them have difficulties to write down the list of them.
That it is.
Main,
That it is.
yes, it's very. You have been a teacher at Conscious many years, and you have seen this. And this is very common. We have seen that, but many times it's because the person doesn't see the strong traits. This is one thing. Other thing is what Regina mentioned. If the person lists the strong traits, there's going to be some responsibility about these strong traits. And this strong trait is going to lead the person, to something that has to be done. And the person cannot avoid to do that because he has the skills to do that. And the person there is it is a bunch of self corruption inside the person, and the person knows but doesn't list, and sometimes they doesn't see. Okay, they don't perceive the strong traits. But as Anna said, we try to bring facts and para facts to show and to make a list. For example, we use the technique of self biography very
Yeah.
much, and the person brings us the a little story,
Information.
information about its own life since he was born until the actual days, and we try to point out you know the strong traits that the person is showing in their writings.
Yeah.
In their experiences, self
Yes.
experiences.
Very, very good. Well, unfortunately, we are most on the end of our chat, and I would like to thank you very, very much for this. And every time you want to come, just give us a ring, and you come back because what's very interesting. All this
Thanks a lot.
subject is very interesting, and I'm pretty sure there's much more things to say, but it's the time short. And I'd like to thank you and all the people who's watching us on YouTube and Facebook. And if you want to add something to the end, feel free.
So
No,
just to thank you for the invitation, and of course, just answering some question from Liliana, that she asked if at some point the course will be available in English. I think this is a possibility, Liliana, and please
Yeah.
help us to make this come true, because
Yeah.
with your knowledge, it will be very welcome at the OIC. And Liliana has already helped us very much in the past.
Yeah. And yes. If there are people interested, we can see that at Ruiz. We can see if we can do the course. And thank you, John Paul, for the invitation. Thanks a lot.
all right. I'm interested. I'm interested.
Thank you too, Gianpaolo, and maybe until next time.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much. And I'd like to ask people watching us to hit the icon, like icon down below, and subscribe to the channel, please. It helps us a lot. And see you next time on MnemoConnect. Every Thursday we have a different podcast on consecutive, right? Thank you again for your time, for your knowledge, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See you.
See you.